This is a true story about a friend of mine and her son. And it's called Hands. Once upon a time, a friend of mine gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. He was precocious and courageous, boisterous and audacious. With a simple smile, this little child could fill a hardened heart with joy. On one sunny Sunday day in May, the kind of day you wished would stay, he was standing on his bed and watching Elmo. Hands are for clapping, Elmo said, and hands are for shaking hands. Hands are for helping. Hands are for holding. Hands are for hugging. Hands are for folding. Hands are for greeting the people you meet, as long as you wash them before you sit down to eat. His mother, my friend, looked him straight in the eye as he pronounced so perfectly clear, "Hands," he announced. "Hands, Mommy, hands." And she smiled from her ear to her ear and shed a proud little tear, for he was only exactly 1 year. 4 short weeks later, though, as those prescribed procedures usually go, he received some innocuous inoculations. Measles, mumps, rubella, Hep B, and chickenpox, varicella, all standards for a standardized education. Ever since then, much to his mother's dismay and chagrin, he has yet so much as utter the word hand or hands again. But that's not all. The following fall, he received a follow-up shot to the arm. His mother knew better, but broke under pressure and stifled her cause for alarm. Her instincts proved right. His symptoms grew worse. Had she trusted her foresight, the course may have reversed. But she hadn't, so it didn't. A diagnosis came claiming neurodevelopmental disorder. Then a prognosis proclaiming behavioral training, specialized therapy, and drugs in that order. Then, as if by some miracle, by some stroke of good luck, he began saying words like pig, cow, and duck. Were the therapies apparently doing the trick? Was the medicine making him well? Could it be that the treatments were truly treating his sickness? Could the remedies possibly be freeing him and releasing him from hell? Alack, alas, that hopeful feeling passed, and his mother's joyful fleeting glee fluttered to the past. Because you see, when he turned 3, he received 3 more booster injections. State-mandated, required for entry prior to school vaccinations. One for diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough, the other for poliomyelitis, and the third of a series of 3 for the B side of hepatitis. Now he's 6.5, and he's never said giraffe or any other animal name again. Instead, he's statistically, severely, prelinguistically autistic. And his mother's a crazy, stupid, uninformed, anti-vaxxing, fact-ignoring lunatic. Yet through all of her rantings and carryings on, through all of her fighting the fight, she, my friend, just wants her son back. And through all of his flailing and screeching and slapping. Through his countless, relentlessly restless and endless nights, she, his mother, just wants her son back. Hands are for holding. Ears are for listening. Life is for continual growing. Hearts are for opening. Minds are for widening. Truth is for seeking and knowing. Once upon a time, another friend of mine decided not to vaccinate her child. And her child turned out just fine.
I'm moving house today. It's been 2 years, 8 months and 28 days. And I've got to say that as I step off the bus for what could be the last time spent as sitting in your boss supermarket queues, etc. And I have to say though, it's only today that I'm glad to be leaving. I really will miss the when Santa
listening to truthconduit.com with Chris McMillan.
So, yeah, you ready?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. Benny Wills, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Doing really well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. Apologies for the bit of not tech issue, but time issue. But as Richard Grove, you know, in Autonomy, he's always enforcing the idea of how important mistakes are, and as a positive thing moving forward, you learn mistakes, and that's a faster way to get towards perfection, don't you think?
Yeah, and it's not a big deal. And luckily, you caught me on a day in a moment that's not too busy.
How was your New Year's? First New Year's as a married man, yeah?
Yes, true. And it's funny you put it like that, because my New Year's was essentially spent taking care of my wife. She's been pretty sick these last few weeks, so I've been tending to her, well, throughout the entire holiday season.
Yeah, sorry to hear. She's on the up and up now?
Yeah, she's much better now, but she definitely got a bug right before Christmas that lasted until very recently.
Yeah.
But she's good now.
Well, you look well, yeah? Staying healthy?
Yeah, I feel great. Luckily, I didn't get what she had, and yeah,
Cool.
I'm upright and healthy-ish, I guess.
I've got you. You are a poet, an actor, an activist, a fellow autonomizer, and so much more. You're best known for Joy Camp, your videos that you did with Joy Camp. And now it's all about words, words, words. This is your new project going on. You cover a wide range of topics, everything from geoengineering to vaccines to politics. What are some of the most important topics that you've been talking about to you at the moment these days, and why?
Well, I think all those topics fall under the category of truth, which is the only topic I'm really interested in general. I mean, my allegiance is to the truth, and so I'm just a truth seeker and truth, bringing truth to light. And so all those topics are important, but they're all under that umbrella of truth. So I'm about bringing truth to people.
And are there any particular subjects that are more prominent, that are more important than others to you? Like, which one, do any of them keep you awake at night?
Yeah, plenty of them do. It just depends on where my emotional level is on any given day. Lately, my curiosity's been pretty deep down the rabbit hole recently, and just trying to understand the nature of our slavery, and really going deep into stuff like, I don't know, cults and Saturn worship, and where some of these patterns have been sort of grooved into our reality, and why it's so hard for us to
us collectively to see why we're in such a deep hole and why it's hard for people to understand the nature of our sort of oppressive overlords. That's where I've been over the holidays. I think Christmas sort of kicked that off and going down a rabbit hole about where some of these influences come from that we have incorporated into the holiday season and why we do it. And yeah.
I really enjoyed your the elephant in the room. That was brilliant, and that touched
Thanks.
on the corruption in Hollywood and all the dodgy stuff that goes on there. That's a topic that, why is that important? It's because people need to be aware. People worship these types, and they are not good people. And you did a good job of bringing that to light. What motivated you to particularly focus on that aspect?
Well, that piece I did, which is called "The Elephant in the Room," that came from about a year and a half ago. I started thinking about what is it that keeps us so stuck in this mess, and I saw it as child abuse, and it's sort of a big idea that I was trying to, consolidate into one sort of presentable piece. And I think that they get us on all levels as children, even prenatally, and it's through everything, through school and through medicine, and through all forms of media and everything. It's just and physical abuse, sexual abuse. I mean, the child abuse is so rampant in the world and on all levels, in all kinds of ways. And I think that's what really gets us on the wrong foot in life, is experiencing that sort of trauma, whether it's at home or whether it's at school or whatever, or from vaccinations or circumcision or anything like that. It's all like this one big child abuse cult that we're all victims to on some level. And so I was inspired to write the poem because of that. And then just, I come from Hollywood. I was born in Hollywood and grew up in Los Angeles and spent most of my life in Southern California. And, I was trying to break into that business for a long time. And so I guess I have a bone to pick with it, because I couldn't follow through with that dream at a certain point because of my integrity. And now that I'm out of it, it's even more clear just how corrupt that business is on all levels, and how there's so much, pedophilia seems to be rampant throughout all areas of control, which to me makes sense why it's also pervasive in all aspects of reality, even down to within the home, why child abuse is so rampant. But yeah, so Hollywood is rife with pedophiles.
Yeah.
And they seem to be all throughout government, all throughout even religious institutions and media, and all these major influences in our reality are filled with pedophiles, and it's an issue. So I really wanted to focus on Hollywood and these blatant examples of pedophilia, and also show the hypocrisy, because there was this big Me Too movement, whatever, like 2 years ago, and it was all about women who were abused, which is great. Let's have justice for them, but where was the justice for the kids? And the stories are there's a lot of cases and a lot of people who have spoken out, and yet those stories remain silent. And I particularly focused on Roman Polanski in my video, because he has been so protected and defended by Hollywood for the last 40 years, and yet his case was pretty blatant. And it's amazing. And so I wanted to just show that with their own words, show how Hollywood has protected this guy, and why is he so protected, and why are others so, I don't know, thrown to the wolves, as it were.
And did you see, sometimes things do leak through? Ricky Gervais, was everyone's talking about him. He pulled an Epstein didn't kill himself in his speech at the Golden Globes the other night. In fact, I believe it was last night. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, points to Ricky. And so everyone seems to be in an uproar about that. But another aspect, you named a lot of good facets. Yeah, there's a war out against children from day one. And another facet that's a more modern one is the rise of technocracy, the social media, the video games, the phones, things like that. We've got a problem with YouTube and Facebook. Mm-hmm. So, you've been very clear about, and I'm the same, we use it because it's the most traffic, but we know it's the devil we're dancing with. what's your backup plan when you get the rite of passage and they ixnay you for speaking the truth?
I honestly don't really have a real plan, just kind of rolling with the punches. I'll stay on YouTube as long as they will allow me to be on there. Um, I don't know. I think this is really one of the most important topics going on right now, because we are all kind of getting scattered about, and I think that's part of the plan. So we don't get silenced completely, but we just get silenced enough that we have to go elsewhere, and it's causing a lot of I don't want to say division, because we're not divided, but we are divided as far as platforms go, and that seems to be the intention, because people are running over to play different places, and I don't know if any of them can compete with YouTube. And there's no reason for people to leave YouTube either. There's no reason for the mainstream audience to walk away from YouTube. They don't see a problem. So it's difficult. We're kind of just getting put into these echo chambers, and I don't know what to do about that. It's also, at the same time, it's always a mirror up to myself and saying, okay, well, what is really important? What is the goal here? Because it's all about what we do in our personal lives that really initiate change anyway. It starts with the self. And so if there's a point where I can't be on YouTube and I don't know where else to put my material, it's more important what I do in my everyday life with the interactions people I have all around me, and what I'm actually doing to create that better world, regardless of what happens with YouTube or any of the other platforms. So I wrestle with all this stuff all the time.
Have you experimented with the alternatives like BitChute or
Oh, of course.
Minds? Yeah. What are your thoughts? What are your observations up to this point?
Well, BitChute seems like a fine place to put content, although I have a video that's still processing on there from like 2 weeks ago, which is kind of annoying. It hasn't even been uploaded yet. Some of them happen fast, and there's other times when it just gets stuck in limbo. And I think it's, I get it. It's tough to have a video platform, especially one that can hold that much content. But it's a bit frustrating. I don't know about minds.com. I was just talking about this in a show the other night. I had an experience. I interviewed Bill Ottman, who is the creator, founder of minds.com. And he seems like a nice enough guy. So I'm not like trying to paint him in a bad light or be suspicious or anything. But I found, well, what happened for me was he reached out to me and wanted me to help promote minds.com. And he gave me a bunch of tokens to utilize to try to, attract an audience and try to, bring attention to minds.com about a year and a half ago. And so with the tokens, you can like invest a certain amount of tokens, and it says this will bring you this much traffic to this post, right? So I put in some amount of tokens to get 2,000 views on a video I put on there. So I put in the tokens, and the next day, sure enough, it said I had 2,000 views on a video, but it was exactly 2,000, no more, no less. I basically it felt like I bought the number 2,000 because there was no engagement whatsoever. There were no comments, no nothing, just the number 2,000 views.
That is a bit strange.
And I thought, what did I just use these tokens for? Because never have I ever released a video where I get 2,000 views and not a single comment. That's bizarre. So it felt like and I did it again, and the same exact thing happened. Maybe it was 3,000 views this time. I don't remember, but it was so exact and without any engagement. I thought this seems really fishy. And so I haven't engaged with minds.com since.
That is interesting. What about Steemit and DTube?
I don't know. I was posting everything on Steemit for a while, and I lost interest, to be honest. I'm maybe in the minority about this, but I don't like having financial incentive for platforms to produce content. And I'm all about energetic exchange and people giving you something in return for what you're giving them. But when it's this blockchain cryptocurrency payout, I just think it compromises the authenticity of a post. And so where it gives us a financial incentive to put something out there. And I just don't know how I feel about that. I think it can compromise what we're putting out there. And then it becomes more about, well, can I get money for this? And it adds a whole other level of status. And you see other people who are making money, and you can get I don't know. I just feel like it's not, there's nothing wrong with it necessarily, but I just don't think that should be the selling point for all these new platforms, which seems to be everyone's creating a platform. It's like, and earn some Steam points or earn some crypto coins
Yeah.
for this. I'm like,
So are you saying
it's not about that.
Are you saying people would be more likely to put out any old post and crap just to get points as opposed to creating better quality? Is that what you mean?
It has potential for adding another layer to the reason why we post, and which can jeopardize the integrity and the authenticity of the post. And again, it's not that it's necessarily, it's not bad or good. It's just, to me, it's unnecessary. And I feel like they're all now going down this road as if they need to include that in order for people to be interested in going to the platform. And I just think it's unnecessary. And I'm all about free market. I'm all about, getting compensated for your contribution, but to embed it within the structure of the platform, I just think is, I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, history repeats itself. You can look back and follow the line, but we're at a point now where there's nothing in the history of mankind at where we're at now with the internet. And yeah, with the blockchain technology and social media, it's just a question of all those topics you just brought up. We just got to wait and see, will it in the long run create more quality, or people get fed up with all the clickbait and just, I don't know. Yeah, these are good questions to bring up. We're in unknown territory here, Benny.
Yeah, it is. And it also, it's frustrating, but it also is an opportunity to move beyond the screens for reach. I mean, we have to talk to each other in person in order to change anything. We have to start trusting each other again and talking to each other, and not just preaching from our little pedestals on social media, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or whatever. There's a safety net with that. Like, you don't have to feel the repercussions of what you're putting out there. And so it's safer to challenge ideas and to challenge paradigms and to challenge people's opinions, because you don't have to feel how it's being received or receive what they're going to respond with in person. But I think we have to start standing in truth more in our everyday lives. And when, it doesn't mean like getting in fights with people, but if someone is bringing up something that they may not, they may have an opinion on something they may not have the full picture on, and it is our responsibility to, politely and kindly bring in some more perspective on that situation when you're out in the world, when you're at the grocery store, or when you're with family, or wherever you are. It highlights the need for that also. And I think that's, it's scary to do that sometimes. In fact, it can be terrifying, but, stand in your truth.
Exactly. Yeah. Face to face. The art of nonviolent communication, the more skilled you are in that, could give you a bit more confidence. I had the pleasure of meeting you in person. We stood around the campfire at Richard Grove's there back this summer. That was a lot of very positive face to face. A lot of people came together there. That's what it's all about. You're about to MC down then. Speaking of getting together physically, you're about to take a trip next month. What's going on with Anarchapulco?
Yeah, I am this year's Master of Ceremonies at the Anarchapulco Conference down in Mexico, mid-February. If anybody out there is interested in going to the conference and they haven't bought a ticket yet, if you use the promo code BENNY, BENNY, you can get, I don't know if it's a 5% or a 10% discount. I really should look into that, but you get a discount by using my name. And that's coming up. It should be a lot of fun. It's usually a lot of fun. Again, that just is a way to be together. It's so important to meet outside of the screen. And that's an excellent opportunity to do so. It's a big gathering of great people. And like you said, we met at Richard Grove's place, but that was at the Red Pill Expo, and it was awesome. It's so good. And also it gives you a renewed sense of hope when you're around people. Because you go to these conferences and it's all walks of life. There is no stereotype for someone who is seeking truth or who's fed up with the system. It's all ages, all races, all ethnicity, whatever. It's everybody. It's all kinds of people. And I think that's really encouraging, and it's usually also the nicest people. I mean, that's what's so ridiculous about what the mainstream narrative is about people who are, radical, alternative, conspiracy minded, whatever, is that they're usually the most peaceful, humble, kind, well-spoken, well-read, intelligent people you'll ever meet.
Yeah, because what's the common denominator here? All these people have come to realize that all actions should be voluntary. And that is,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's really what it comes down to. And once you realize that, it just expands from there. And eventually
Yep.
you'll lead to certain ideas as well. And it's just a hard pill to swallow, that idea. That's the red pill right there. All
Yeah.
actions should be voluntary.
Yep. Agreed.
Was there ever a point in your life where you were you didn't? What was your? I mean, how did you come to realize that the old Benny who before, and then you came to realize that idea? What was basically your journey down the rabbit hole?
Oh man, it started young for me. Um, I've been a curious person my whole life, and I I really didn't respond well to school when I was a kid, and in retrospect, that was a good indicator of things to come. I just didn't. I always felt uncomfortable being forced to trust authority. I just thought, well, why should I? Why should I believe what you're telling me, and why is it important? Um, but I remember in second grade, the two things that I remember, the bullet points from my childhood that were significant, looking back on, that really showed where I was at and the person I was going to be, were learning about the pyramids in second grade, learning about ancient Egypt, and just being blown away by those structures, and really being disappointed with the lack of explanation that they gave us. It was insufficient. I was like, there's more to this, and you're telling me now we have to move on. We're like turning the page into something else. Like, well, this is very significant. Let's talk about it. And then it was learning about JFK in like third or fourth grade, when, because he died before I was alive. So learning about him as a president, and then that he was assassinated. And then almost as like a footnote, they're like, oh, and by the way, there's a conspiracy theory that exists that is a completely different story altogether. Moving on. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. What's this other theory? Like, that was compelling to me. Like, what is this other version of events that made me make this one completely false? And they didn't, go into it. And I thought that was weird. So those were two like big things in my childhood early on that made me challenge, reality. And then 9/11 was the big one in high school. I was a senior in high school and that happened, and it just felt weird. I just had a weird feeling about everything that was going on that day, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was because it was very traumatic, and
It wasn't perhaps, gee, that building just collapsed on its own footprint in 8 seconds the way a controlled
Right.
demolition does.
Well, that was the thing. It was just all bizarre. The whole thing was so bizarre, and we're all in this state of shock. So I didn't really have, my critical thinking capacity was,
Yeah.
first of all, pretty limited, or underdeveloped already at that point from being in government schooling for so long. But
Yeah, same here.
I didn't understand what I was watching, and it didn't make sense what they were telling me. I was like, this is, and it was on the day of 9/11 that I had suspicions, because it was Colin Powell on the day of 9/11 was on TV saying, this is obviously a declaration of war. And when he said that, I was like, no way, this is an isolated terror event as far as we know. Like, how can you jump to conclusions like that? We don't even know who was on this plane. So it was the response from, Bush's government that had me questioning what I was experiencing and why, what was happening. And then I don't know, it just planted a seed of doubt. It wasn't a couple years later that I really started looking into it, when movies like Loose Change came out and whatnot, because there was no YouTube back then. On 9/11, there was no YouTube, so there was no, and the internet, we still had dial-up internet, so there was no way to just like go on the internet, and or at least I didn't know of a way to go on the internet and really start digging in and seeing what people were saying and what the alternative views on it were. But it definitely planted the seed of doubt, and I didn't trust my government at that point. And then I don't know, it's just been a real gradual thing ever since, my whole life, of just being curious and wanting to know the truth about reality. And it suddenly got me to a point in my early 20s where I was being called things like conspiracy theorist, and I was getting in arguments with people, and it was just baffling to me that people weren't more interested in knowing what the real story behind anything was. And because like I said, I've always been that way. So I've just been a curious person, and I still am shocked at that at this point in my life. Like, how are more people not more interested in knowing what's really going on? And it's just the way it is. So it's been a
Well, as you
lifelong,
that,
lifelong
that's
journey.
I mean, that segues back to where we started the conversation. You know, there's the odds, there's a lot of factors working against a young person's mind in today's society. All the factors that you
Right.
named, public schooling and the mass media are two of the biggest ones. And it's a hard, it's a hard shell to break out of. It really is.
True.
Sometimes, sadly, for some people, it takes an unfortunate event to snap them out of it. For other people, it's just a slow consciousness, like in your case.
Right.
Your poetry is fantastic.
Thanks.
Is there a compilation, an anthology out there, or any plans for one to put it all in one place?
Yeah, there is. It's just been slow. G-Word Griffin, who is a legend in this in the alternative world.
Yep.
Um,
I had the honor of interviewing him face to face at the Red Pill Expo in Nevada this
Right.
past November. He's such a
cool.
nice guy, such a nice guy.
Yeah, he's the best. And he and I became friends at the Acapulco Conference 2 years ago. And he didn't know who I was, so we were at dinner, and I performed a poem for him at dinner, and he really liked it. And then he invited me to perform at the Red Pill Expo in 2000. When was that? 18. And then I was the MC for the Red Pill Expo in Connecticut early or last spring, or when was it? June of 2019. Yeah. And he has shown interest in publishing a poetry book for me. It's just been slow to develop. He's a very busy guy. That's basically where it stands. So he has all my materials. I have given him, I narrowed it down to I think give him 20 pieces, and I formatted them and showed him my idea for a book cover and some illustrations throughout. And so it's all in his hands. And it's just been slow to move because he is so, he's a lot on his plate. So hopefully, I mean, my dream would be to have it ready, or at least some version of it ready by Anarchapulco next month, so I can start selling copies, but hopefully soon. I mean, to answer your question, there is something in the works. It's been in the works for a while. I'm just waiting for my publisher to have enough time to focus on getting it done.
Yeah, not many people can claim him to be their publisher as well.
That's the thing. It's an awesome. I mean, it's such an honor to have G-Word Griffin in my corner, and I exercise patience because I'm eager. I'm really eager to get it out there, and a lot of people have shown interest in obtaining a copy, and I just want to get it out to the world. And I also, since I'm constantly producing content, I have to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, this is the first volume, and then this. So now I have so many more poems that I've written since he agreed to it. I have to so by the time it gets published, I probably have a volume 2 ready to go.
Please tell me that your poem "Hands" will be included.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's
definitely one of my favorites.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's a good one.
It almost brought me to tears. If I probably would have shed a tear had I not been around all my, friends. I gotta,
that poem is, that poem is really good. I can say
it really
with confidence, and it's a true story, which makes it even more resonant. And anybody out there who knows somebody who's thinking about having a child or is about to give birth, share that poem with them, because it's a woman's true story, a friend of mine's true story about her experiences with Western medical science and what happened to her child. And it's really powerful. And what's happened for me, because it's about vaccinations. And since I've released that poem, since I've performed it at several conferences now, and the video exists on my channel, I've had so many people reach out to me, so many mothers and fathers reach out to me and say, that's my story. Thank you. That's my story too. And they'll be crying when they tell me. And to me, that's the proof, So share it with people. I am not shy about sharing it with my friends who are getting pregnant. and whatnot out here, because they can get mad if they want, but
Yeah.
it's a true story, and if you choose to ignore it, that's on you.
Yeah, I definitely will include it in the show notes. Real quick, who were some of your poets that were more influential in your early poetry days? I know Shel Silverstein, you're a big fan of his. My daughter, we love him here in this house.
Yeah.
Who else?
My two favorite poets are Shel Silverstein and Edgar Allan Poe. Those are my when I was first getting into the routine of writing poetry, I was going back and forth between those two of them. And yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of classical poetry. I'd also love to put Shakespeare in there, because I'm a classically trained actor, and I've done, I studied in the theater for over a decade, so I'm very well versed, so to speak, no pun intended. And Shakespeare was a great poet, and I did a lot of Shakespeare plays and studied Shakespeare a lot. And so I think there's a lot of, especially in that poem, Elephant in the Room, that you referenced earlier, that's like my most Shakespearean piece. And I think that I'd have to include him in my list of favorite poets. But yeah, I
Cool.
just like poetry in general. I think that I'm trying to revive poetry as well, because, before, about less than 100 years ago, poetry all had a lyrical vibe. Poetry was lyrical, and this whole it's just been sort of bastardized in the past century, I think. And sometimes people even give me a hard time for rhyming so much in my poetry, but I'm like, that's what poetry is. We've made it it's like an easy way out to just write down your stream of consciousness, emotions, and thoughts down on your iPhone, and then read it in front of a microphone and call it poetry. I think that's, you wouldn't go on stage and just hit keys on a keyboard and call it music. So why are we cheapening the art of poetry so much by just saying, well, it's just your thoughts, and it's just like open verse, and there's no structure to it. Well, I like to think it's a little more nuanced than that.
Yeah, I absolutely love poetry myself. I got into it in college. I've written a few poems as well. I had one publication in an anthology.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Anne Sexton, I'm a fan of, I used to read her a lot, and Sylvia Plath. I was really into the melodrama when I was in college. Seems like that's appropriate, but
yeah. Cool.
Well, cool, Benny. Respecting your time, plugins, where can people find you? What are you up to?
Wow. Okay. Well, my main thing right now is building my personal YouTube channel, which may or may not, be taken down at some point. I hope not, of course. But youtube.com/Benny Wills. I have been doing a weekly show on there for the past, 10 weeks now. It's called Words, 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 and it's bringing words to life. So I'm taking other people's words, more or less, and giving them a voice. So I feel like that's gonna be really hard to take down, because it's hardly any opinion in there. It's just letting them speak for themselves and painting a bigger picture with words. So it's called Words, Words. I released an episode just yesterday, which is more of a showcase of my own words from the Anarchapulco Conference last year. It's basically posted my performance from that. But yeah, check it out. It's really fun to do, and I don't know, the response has been great so far. So that's the main place, youtube.com/Benny Wills. You can go to youtube.com/JoyCamp and check out all my videos from my LA days with all my friends there that we did for about 7 years, which is all conscious comedy, sketch comedy that has to do with truth-like topics. And those exist, and I think they're timeless. They're special. They hold a special place in my heart. Check them out. And then all the typical whatever social media stuff. There's Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on BitChute. I'm on Minds.com. I'm on Steam and DTube. I'm even on DLive. I'm on all these things. So I'm very easy to find on the internet if you want to come find me.
Yeah, years ago, I downloaded your Joy Camp clips, quite a few of them, and I would just put them on in the background in the living room on a loop, and the kids get a kick out of them. Daddy, what are chemtrails? We'll go outside and look.
Yeah.
Cool, Benny. I really appreciate the time today. It's good seeing you, and maybe I'll see you on Discord as well.
Yeah. Sonia and I are definitely wanting to do season 3. Season 2 was we were kind of thrust into it late in the process of moving and all kinds of other things, so it's hard for us to catch up. But we'll be in season 3.
That's great to hear. All right,
Yeah.
Benny. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks, Chris.
All right.
That looks pretty round to me. In fact, that might even be a perfect circle. But to be fair, this photo is photoshopped. In fact, NASA even admits that every image you see of the Earth is actually photoshopped.
Are you talking shit on NASA,
Did you just say NASA is wrong?
Look, all I'm saying is that if they can convince you that the world that you're living on is not actually what it is, then they can pretty much convince you of anything.
You know what I know? I know that hamburgers are real, and I know that we're gonna go get one.
Okay, but I gotta respond to myself and say that there's also a good chance that this whole flat Earth revival is just one big massive psyop.
What is this?
It's obviously a distraction, and it's dividing the community at a time when we need to be more united than ever, because the system is going into lockdown mode. You know, 1984 is upon us. There's water depletion, there's deforestation, there's mandatory vaccinations. Every move is being monitored. There's never-ending war. The psychopaths are posing as leaders, and we're down here debating on whether or not the Earth is flat.
Yeah, but no one can prove it.
On the contrary, my friend, I intend to put an end to this debate once and for all.
He flew right up there in a jetpack. I didn't see that coming. That thing was fast.
Walking down the street, the children play. For them, it's just another day. The future's reflected in their parents' faces, who chose to stay on in this place where they were born, went to school, got married, and kids, like their grandparents before them did. Got to escape, you know, before it's too late. Although today I could say that I really will miss the when Santa.
You've been listening to truthconduit.com with Chris McMillan. Go to the subscribe page and sign up to get notifications of the latest posts. And check out the support page to help keep it going.
Yeah, I've got a friend in Jesus Christ. I've got a friend in Jesus Christ, and Krishna, and Buddha, and my bartender.